Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from the first round of this year's Stefan Avagnan Memorial Tournament, Arjun Erigaisi versus Robert Hovhannisyan, and we've covered a couple of games by Robert so far, and we've covered quite a few games of Arjun. Arjun and Nodrbek are playing all of the tournaments that they can, and Arjun did say that he's not getting invited to close tournaments, so he does have to continue playing open, as he wants to, I imagine, get as many tournament points as possible, or as many tournament victories as possible for the FIDE circuit to qualify for the next FIDE Candidates tournament, if he doesn't qualify via rating or via some other means. Nodrbek is, I imagine, also trying to do that, and some other players as well. And this is Arjun's eighth or ninth tournament this year, since not maybe even this year, since February. So he's playing all the tournaments that he can. He just finished one, and now this is round one. And it's a beautiful game. You guys will enjoy it. Let's check it out. He's playing against Robert Hovhannisyan, Armenian Grandmaster, who got his Grandmaster title around 2010. So he was maybe 19 or 20 years old when he got it. Already that year he became the Armenian champion, and already that year he won gold in the World Team Championship representing Armenia. So a very strong player, but as you can see, still quite a bit of a rating difference there, and everyone is happy with a draw against Arjun. Arjun is currently world number 4, behind Magnus, Hikaru, and Fabi, and a draw with the black pieces against Arjun is, I mean, as good as a victory against anyone else in the tournament. So he has to be very careful. Much like Magnus, he has to play something no one ever played if he wants to get winning chances. Otherwise, players will just prepare very well and go for drawish lines. Not all of them. Some of them will, of course, try to even beat him with black. But yeah, if he wants to increase his rating and continue winning, he has to be original in every game. So let's see what happens in this one. We have pawn to e4 by Arjun, pawn to e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. He goes for the Ruy Lopez, and Robert goes for the Berlin defense, knight to f6. So how do you play for a win against the Berlin defense? Let's see what Arjun had in mind. d3, we have bishop to c5 and pawn to c3. We have castles, and pawn to d5. This is very well known, so nothing new here. E captures on d5, queen captures on d5, and bishop to c4. He attacks the queen, queen to d8, and now there are a couple of games that reach this position. For example, there are some games where pawn to b4 was played. Also, knight b to d2 is a known move. But even if you wait with b4 with something like knight b to d2, you leave the d3 pawn undefended, and you still have to play rook to e1 and knight to f1 before you can get the knight into the game. And black can use this to put pressure on that d3 pawn. He can play a5 to stop a b4, and next play bishop to f5 to put pressure on that d3 pawn. So both moves have been played before, but they didn't do all that much for white. So Arjun tries neither. He plays queen to c2, and it is already now, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game, and both players are blitzing out the moves. You could even see it if I allowed the clocks to remain on the board, which I had planned for this game, so just give me a few seconds. I actually wanted the clocks to be shown this game, as it is quite relevant. So there we have it, like an hour 31, both of them just blitzing out moves. They have more time than they started with. They started with an hour and a half. We have pawn to h6 and now pawn to b4 by Arjun. Bishop back to d6 and bishop to e3 now. Preparing pawn to a4, pawn to b5, of course. So pawn to a6, knight b to d2, and now rook to e8. We have pawn to a4 and bishop to e6, offering a trade of light square bishops. We have bishop captures, rook captures, and now knight to e4. And this looks like a pretty good deal for black. Why not just capture the knight, eliminate more material off the board, and then play something like this, get the rook into the game? Well, it is playable, but again, you have to be mindful of that b5 move. If pawns get traded off, then rook to a7 might be possible if you get the rook into the game, and the knight will have to move. So it's not maybe the best. Rook f to d1 can be played. White will be the one who controls the d file. So while it can be played and black is by no means lost here, you do have to give something up. So instead, Robert goes for knight to e7. We have rook f to b1, still not worried about any tension in the center, just preparing pawn to b5 if needed, and knight to f5, putting pressure on the bishop here. We have bishop to d2, and only now knight captures on e4. We have the captures attacking the knight, knight to h4, offering further trades, and Arjun declines. Knight to e1, keeps an eye on the g2 pawn, and well, this knight will wait a bit before re-entering the game. So bishop to e7 and pawn to c4. Now Arjun continues pushing on the queen side. We have queen to d7 and bishop to c3. So a similar time, 38 minutes versus 30 minutes, and the position is quite complicated. We have rook to d8, gaining control over the d file. Now pawn to g3, kicking away the knight. The white knight also controls f3 and g2, so the knight has to go back. Knight to g6, and now queen to e2, preparing queen to d1. To get rid of Robert's control over the d file. Knight to f8 and pawn to a5. We have pawn to c6 and pawn to c5, creating an outpost for the knight either on b6 or on d6. So the idea is now to shift the knight to f3, to d2, to c4, and then to b6 or d6, depending on what Robert plays. For the moment, you can see that the bishop, knight, rook, and pawn are controlling the entire d file, so there is no way for that black queen or rook to become active on the d file. So bishop to f6, you also add a defender to the e5 pawn, rook to d1. We have queen to c8, now comes knight to g2, the re-maneuvering of the knight commences. Rook captures on d1 with check, rook captures, and rook to e8, preparing to counter the other rook on the d file. Knight to e3, we have rook to d8, and now knight to c4. So you can see how by really slow playing it and by not rushing any known lines, Arjun got a very much a playable position that he can seemingly play forever until he manages to, take down a very strong grandmaster. We have rook captures on d1, queen captures, and now just queen to e6, and finally knight to d6. Puts pressure on the b7 pawn. It's a backwards pawn, so you can never really advance it. Queen to d7 defending, and now Arjun plays queen to h5. And here it's just very, very hard to come up with a move for black. One could even say that this is a Zugzwang position. There's not much you can do. The bishop, okay, where can the bishop go? It's not really, it's not really possible for the bishop to go anywhere. The queen can help out with the defense of the e5 pawn, but the queen for the moment is stuck guarding the b7 pawn, and the e5 pawn is hanging. Also, if the queen moves to a weird square, also the f7 pawn is hanging. So what can you do here? You could try something like knight to g6. I will show the line just because it's really fun. If knight to g6, okay, you defend on e5 and on b7, king to g2. What move can black play? Okay, you can waste a move. Queen e7, queen to g4. Okay, let's waste another move. Queen to c7. How does white break through here? Pawn to h4. You want to kick away the knight. Knight to f8. Okay, the pawn on e5 is not hanging for the moment. Bishop to d2 all of a sudden, attacking the h6 pawn, threatening to capture it. King to h8. Now queen to f5. Everything coming with tempo. Knight to h7, and now bishop to c3, again putting pressure on the d5 pawn. And you might be thinking, okay, but what's the problem? We'll just play queen e7 back. Well, all of a sudden bishop captures on e5 and black resigns here. It's an incredible position. But the point is that after bishop captures, you have queen captures. You sacrifice the queen, but only temporarily. Queen captures, knight captures with check, a royal fork here. King g8, knight captures on e5. You're up 2 pawns. You are completely winning in this endgame. So brilliant stuff here. So that's the problem with doing nothing in this position. Robert realizes that, and he goes for the active move. Queen e7, pawn to h4, and now queen to e6. He gives up the b7 pawn to activate his pieces a little bit, but it's still not enough. Knight captures on b7. We have queen to b3 attacking the bishop, and now queen to f3. Arjun just defends. You don't even have to do it. I'm just going to show you another line because it's fun. Knight to d6, you give up the bishop, and after queen captures on c3, now you play queen captures on f7 check, king h7, queen captures on f8, and okay, you get queen captures on b4, but still the queen knight combo are too strong. It's probably you put a queen on f7, you threaten the bishop on f6. You will trade the bishop for a knight here, and well, you'll just have a winning queen and pawn endgame. But Arjun wants more, as those queen and pawn endgames can be tricky. We have knight to e6, and now king to g2. We have queen to c2, knight back to d6. We have knight to d4 attacking the queen, and now a trade happens. Bishop captures, pawn captures. Now Robert also gets a past d pawn. Pawn to e5, breaking through on the f file. Bishop captures on e5, queen captures on f7 with check, king to h7, and now queen to e8, attacking the bishop and preparing to bring the knight into the game, also attacking the c6 pawn. So queen to e2, defending the bishop, queen captures on c6. We have pawn to d3, the passed pawn marches forward, but now queen to e4 check. Arjun forces a queen trade. We have pawn to g6, and now while you could capture on e2 and blunder the game, yes, this blunders the game because the f1 square is now covered. There's no way to stop the promotion of the pawn. Arjun finds a nice clean win. Queen to b7 with check, bishop to g7, and now knight to e4. The problem with pawn to d2 now is that you can play knight to f6 check, and it's a forced checkmate in 3. Or in 4 if you count knight to f6 check. King to h8, now queen to a8 with check. You give up the bishop, and that's just checkmate. So here after knight to e4, queen to b2 is played, stopping knight to f6, and now comes pawn to c6, and he was in this position on move 47 that Robert Hovhannisyan resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Brilliant, brilliant victory by Arjun. The point is that now after pawn to d2, you don't care, you just capture that pawn. And after queen captures, pawn to c7, frees up this diagonal so you don't have to worry about any checks from the black queen, and also c8 is just unstoppable. You can play bishop d4, but again, queening comes with check, discovery from the queen on b7, and once you go back, it's rather quick checkmate, like queen to f7 threatens mate, you go h5, then another check by the queen, king to h6, and now either queen captures on g7, and that will be checkmate. So of course Robert knows there's no point in continuing this, and he resigns. A great victory for Arjun Erigaisi, who maintains his spot as world number 4. We haven't checked out the ratings in quite a while, so we can even do that. Let me just load that up. Live ratings. Let me just check it out here. There we go. So these are the live ratings. So Magnus still first with 2831. Hikaru, the only other, 2800 officially with 2801. Fabiano 2795, and there you have it. Arjun Erigaisi 2773. So quite a path to endure in reaching the likes of Fabiano, Hikaru, and Magnus. But yeah, if he continues like this, not only will he overtake them, but also he will qualify for the next candidates tournament and challenge either Ding or Gukesh for the title of World Classical Champion. You know, we'll see what happens. Abdusatorov also 2766. Nepo still chilling with 2770. Prague, a big winner with plus 10 points. He's currently in world number 8, shot up five places. So yeah, that's pretty incredible. Do we have some other big winners? Alireza plus 6, Maxulu plus 2. Oh, there's Hans Niemann plus 15. Very nice. Hans currently on 30 plus 15. He's back to 2700. And also Chitarambaran Aravind on 2702 plus 18.5. So those are the big winners. And yeah, nicely done by Arjun. We'll see if he can keep this up. If you guys are interested, I can also check out who is his opponent in the next game. In round 2, he will be facing... Let me just check. Oh, it already started 30 minutes ago. So in round 2, he is facing Shang Sargsyan, also a very strong Armenian grandmaster. He has the black pieces, and at the moment, yeah, it's an equal position, maybe slightly better for Arjun, as if it's equal, and he is Arjun, of course, he does have the upper hand. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll keep an eye on the tournament, and if you guys have any other suggestions from the chess world, use that hashtag suggestion. I always check out all of them, and I'm very happy when you guys use hashtag suggestion. So yeah, there you have it. What do you think about the game? What do you think about Arjun's quote above the board? And what do you think about life in general? So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Eric Lee, Timothy Larkin, Ding Power, William Cooper, and EK McAllister for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful tournament and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.